There we go, finally. All right, we're back. Sorry, guys. I wanted to actually like share the link so I could go live. There we go, finally. All right, now let me just actually get to the stream, get a link, and then I can actually share. Get to the stream and make a post and share that I'm live. Reacting to some YT. Gonna game a bit later. I might play a little more Clover Pit today. I'm not sure. I think I'm gonna, like I said in the description, look through some mods for my Skyrim playthrough because I want to do a live Skyrim playthrough. I'd rather do that than do a big long Let's Play and clog up the channel.
Built enormous state-of-the-art
All right, let's
stadiums
go.
in relation to the level of football they played at. These two teams, namely Hull City and Darlington, both competed in the old third division at the time, now known as League Two, and both were building all-seater stadiums capable of holding 25,000 people, making them among the largest football stadiums in England outside of the
That Darlington Stadium looks so weathered and old, man.
Hull City moved into their new ground, the KC
Hull Stadium is so much
midway
nicer.
through the 2002-03 campaign, a season that they would end just one place above Darlington.
Interesting.
Fact,
wow.
In the Tigers' final game at their old home
So
ground,
they were close together. They actually were close together in the leagues because Darlington, I don't even think are a football league club anymore. They're definitely a non-league club somewhere down in the non-league. I'm surprised that Darlington were ever anywhere near as high as Hull City. I'm not that surprised Hull City were down in League Two. But Darlington, like I'm surprised they were even ever up in League Two. I barely even know that team exists, and Hull City is like, everyone knows Hull City. I feel like everyone that knows soccer.
They were beaten 1-0 by
And Hull City has such a nice stadium too.
Farewell to a once great but now deeply decrepit old ground.
It's cute, but yeah.
Stadium move came just 8 months later, right at the start of the 2000.
It's not even that good looking of a stadium either, honestly, really. I hate to say it. It's very generic.
304 campaign as they played their first game at the Reynolds Arena. Over the next decade, Hull City's new ground helped propel the club to heights they had never previously reached. 3 promotions in 5 seasons secured one of the fastest ascents from English football's base
That's crazy, wow.
to the Premier League in the history of the English game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great stadium, though. The stadium's a big part of it. I mean, a big part of why, like, of what I think of when I think of Hull City is, like, this team that plays in, like, the north of England in this kind of drab gray setting, but with a very colorful stadium that kind of looks like something out of, like, Spain or Italy or something. It's a very southern European looking,
packed to the rafters.
Looking kind of stadium.
In English football's top flight every week. Darlington's new stadium did
Oh,
little
man.
to lift the
Brutal.
Quakers' fortunes. Darlington performed worse in their first season after moving to
Giving
their new
tickets
ground
away.
than they had done the previous year in their old one, and they would go on to taste 2 relegations, finishing bottom of League Two, and being dumped out of the conference, without tasting a single promotion in their grand new establishment. Instead, the cost of erecting this monument to human stupidity would cost the club not just their Football League status, but also their very existence. 3 months ago, the man behind Darlington's enormous, baffling white elephant.
So they didn't even make it. They actually went insolvent as a club.
Of a stadium, George Reynolds, died at the age of 84. Reynolds was many different things to many different people and at many different times. To some, he was simply a crook. To others,
interesting, yeah. Okay, so it was a bad owner's fault. That makes a lot of sense. That is the case a lot of the time with the stadium, and it looked like a particularly just like, I don't know, boring and like bland generic stadium surrounded by a big parking lot. Just like, yeah, evil land developer kind of vibes from the stadium I'm already getting.
Reynolds has been described as a gangster, a character, a criminal, a hero, a villain, and pretty much everything in between. So in today's video, we're heading to
man
the
of many
northeast of
cloths.
England, to a town that was once home to the world's
A
first
man of many
permanent
tastes.
steam locomotive-powered passenger railway, in an attempt
I guess
to
you could
unpick
say.
the truth behind a man who genuinely used to unpick locks and blast open safes for a living to try and make sense
I think this dude might be evil.
of one of the most bizarre football stadiums
It's just
ever
kind of
built,
ugly, bro.
and to examine the legacy that both he and it have left behind.
Is that Darlington now? Is that where they
For
play now?
120 years, there was only one place that Darlington Football Club called home, and that was Feetham.
Someone's backyard.
Amateur football had actually been played on the site of the historic ground as early as the 1860s, but it was in 1880.
So why move? You're Darlington. I'm kind of interested to explain why they would move. I guess ambition, right? They were in the third or fourth tier, which is honestly higher than they had any right to be. It kind of speaks that they were actually I think they were probably punching above their weight to be there. Ambition,
At the same
would be
time
my
that
guess.
Darlington Football Club was founded, that it became a more structured sporting venue. Before the football club arrived, immediately adjacent to the site of the football stadium was a cricket field, which remained following the football club's arrival.
Okay.
That gave Feethams the unusual quirk of football fans entering through the turnstiles and then having to walk all the way around a cricket field before reaching either their seats
Why?
or their position on the terraces.
Why? That's
Feethams
so
was also
ridiculously
famous for the
inconvenient.
fact that
Why?
It was very easy for supporters to make their way around the ground, and given that there was typically no lack of space, supporters would often swap seats or standing positions at half-time in order to be behind or closer to the goal that Darlington were attacking.
That's cool though. That's like a home. That's like what it's supposed to be. That's like your home team in a small town in England. That's exactly what that vibe is supposed to be like, though. No.
In 1907, the England amateur national football team, which was a separate entity to the actual England team, beat the Netherlands 12-2 at Feethams.
Why
in
are they
front of
playing?
a packed
Why did they play in Darlington?
out crowd. Though the FA don't consider this to have been an official England international,
Well, yeah,
because
it's an
it was
exhibition.
England's amateur team, the Dutch FA do consider it to have been a full Netherlands.
Why? 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 We consider ourselves to have gotten our ass kicked. Just forget about it. Forget that one ever happened. Why are the people who got blown out by 10 goals specifically saying, no, that one happened? Did Kaz Rufelsi push for that? The guy who scored both the Netherlands goals? He's like, no, that game happened, dude. That game happened for sure.
Meaning
That was a full Dutch international for sure. I scored 2 full Dutch international goals. I don't care that we got blown out by 10.
it is officially the heaviest defeat that the Netherlands has ever suffered.
So
And
why
took
claim
place in
it?
Darlington. The stadium's more regular tenants, Darlington FC,
So why
were founding
claim it,
members
bro?
of the Northern League before joining the Football League
Dope.
in
I've heard of it. The
1920.
Northern League still exists, I'm
The
pretty sure.
club's finest achievement,
It's
winning
like
the
level
league
7 or 8. I
would
play too
arrive
much Football
shortly after
Manager.
that, in the 1924-25 season, when they won
Sick
the third
fits,
Division
too.
North title, winning promotion to
The
English
drip.
football's second tier, where they would go
That
toe
was
to
drip
toe
at the
with
time.
likes
That was
of
absolutely drip at the
Wednesday,
time.
Derby County, and Chelsea as equals.
The
Darlington
Wednesday.
survived for one season before dropping back down into the third division North, where they
Right.
remained until the creation of a nationwide fourth division. Darlington lost their league status for the first
Ugly
time
uniforms.
in the 1988
What happened to the
89
uniforms, bro? What did y'all do to the uniforms?
season, when the club was facing significant financial difficulties before former Aston Villa striker and England international Brian Little came along
rescued?
to turn their fortunes around.
Hell yeah.
Little guided the Quakers to back-to-back promotions, earning himself a job at Leicester City, but as soon as he left, Darlington were relegated again, back down into English
Brutal.
football's fourth tier, which had been newly renamed as the third division due to the breakaway of
I bet they wish they were in the 4th tier today, Darlington.
League from the Football League over that same summer. Darlington came close to securing a return to the third tier, then known as the second division, and now League One, when they reached a playoff final in 1996. But they suffered a narrow 1-0 defeat to a Plymouth Argyle side managed by Neil Warnock at the old Wembley Stadium, in front of 43,431 fans. By the summer of 1999,
It's crazy that you have to make it through a playoff to get promoted out of League 2. It really is brutal getting promoted. You got to be. I don't even know. It's just hard to get promoted. It's amazing any team ever does it back to back.
just 3 years later, Darlington were on the brink. The club had debts totaling several £1,000,000 and absolutely no ability to meet those obligations.
Yeah, they're
The
punching
threat
above their weight.
was existential, but out of nowhere arrived a saviour with a broad northeast accent, a large Rolls
That's how you know he's trustworthy. His car looks like this. That's how you know he's a trustworthy individual.
Royce, and a colourful past to give it its respectable title.
Absolute goofball.
A man who described himself as being a combination of Richard Branson.
If you start with Richard Branson, you're an absolutely insufferable douchebag. If that's the first person you... There's nothing wrong with actually aspiring to be like Richard Branson. Like, I mean, he's a billionaire. It's like maybe not, but like I would get it if you're an ambitious, like, you know, if you're just an ambitious person, especially if you're British. But if that's the first person, come on, you know what I mean? You're a douchebag, really. Really, Richard Branson? You think you're like Richard Branson? Imagine just being like, yeah, I think I'm like Jeff Bezos. What a dickhead. Shut up.
Brian Clough and Norman Stanley Fletcher.
Yeah.
Being
A gangster?
Protagonist portrayed by Ronnie Barker in the
A fictional
prison-based
gangster.
UK sitcom
Not even a real gangster.
Porridge, for those of you who don't know. Reynolds claimed to have a net worth of
Who's that guy I just found out about? I was like, you could have at least said that, like, who's that British gangster who was totally crazy? Like, they put him from one prison to the other. He was played by Tom Hardy in that movie. Oh, man. He was like a bald British gangster who just got in, like, a fight every 20 seconds. I gotta look that up. Charles Bronson? Is that his name? I mean, Charles Bronson was definitely named after... He named himself after an actor. Like, he took the name of, like, a Hollywood actor, I think, named Charles Bronson. Yeah, Charles Bronson, prisoner. There we go. Yeah. There was a crazy prisoner named Charles Bronson. You could have at least said Charles Bronson. But nah. You want to be like a fictional British gangster from a TV show. Okay. Goofball. Is that him? Is that him with fucking Oprah?
£1 million. And
oh, he's rich. That's right. Of course that is him with fucking Oprah. That's right, because he's rich. Okay, yeah.
With some pretty bold plans for the struggling...
How old do you think this guy's girlfriend is? I'm just going to say it. How old? I mean, the number... What number do you think it starts with?
Fourth outfit. And yes, that is...
Please be 2. Please be 2. Please at least just be dating a 21-year-old, right? Please let her just be 21. She's not. She's not going to be 21. That's going to be a part of this. His ridiculously young girlfriend, I can already tell, is going to be a part of this. This guy's a sleazeball.
On day one, Reynolds paid off the club's debts, claiming to have done so by writing a cheque that was worth more than £5 million.
Sure.
Also on day one, Reynolds laid out his 3-point plan for the club, which he hoped to achieve within the space of just 5 years. The first aim was to pay off the club's debts and then not to incur any further debts throughout the course of his tenure.
Good luck.
The second,
yeah, and then they're going to be like good for one season and he's going to spend $14 million.
Raised 1 or 2
So he built a new stadium? Also, like, how is building a new stadium, bro?
Was to build a 25
Yeah,
stadium.
that's exactly what I just said. How is building a new stadium part of not bankrupting the club? Have you gotten, like, the local government to agree to completely fund it? Because otherwise, unless you're literally... I mean, he said, what did he say, $200 million? I mean, okay, let's see it. But you better not take any money from anybody, from any taxpayers or, like, any fans. You better be self-funding that if you say you're worth $200 million. It's just, what, it's a level 4 soccer team? This is like the 1990s? Yeah, you better be funding that yourself.
Third, which provoked mild amusement more than any other response.
Oh, he's going to the Premier League?
The Premier League.
Yeah, of course.
Reynolds' stadium plans
Are you playing Football Manager?
Dismissed as being first day bravado to impress the press present at his inauguration.
Well, the guy's got a lot of bravado.
Yeah, I know.
Let's be real.
For me to say. Darlington were in need of a new stadium. Following 120 years at Feetham's, whatever the emotional attachment, few fans denied that the old ground had seen better days. Despite attempted renovations in 1997, the club was fighting a losing battle, and if they hadn't been so cash-strapped, it is likely a previous administration would have been exploring new sites. The problem at Feetham's wasn't so much the crumbling infrastructure.
It's just tiny, dog.
Perennially waterlogged.
It's just tiny. Oh, it's waterlogged. Oh, that's not good in England either.
Which was rendered virtually unplayable.
It's a perfect British football stadium, though. It's right in the middle of someone's backyard. It's very pretty.
Winter months. Reynolds didn't back down from his promises in the coming weeks, though, maintaining that he would build, well, sometimes a 25,000, sometimes a 27,000-seater stadium.
Of course.
And reach the summit of the English game. Reynolds' wife, Susan, declared upon his arrival at the club that Failure is not a word in George's vocabulary. Apparently, nor was reality. Reynolds' bold plan was built upon the supposition
Yeah, I don't know.
that
I don't know how that's actually going to work, like football wise.
he could rep
Who wants to come to Darlington? Like, who's your opposition? Does Darlington have a big enough fan base to fill that stadium? Is obviously the most important thing that I'm thinking of, right? Like, is there actually a fan base in that part of England unopposed that's going to come to those games, even at that top level? If there's another Premier League team in this area and it's not that populated of an area, you're going to get squeezed out just from that and have no hope from the beginning. So, like, it could just be a doomed proposition from the start.
replicate what he had done in the kitchen worktop business, his most lucrative business venture,
Excuse me?
within the world of football.
Yeah,
Though he claimed
exact
the
same
worth
thing.
Of, well, again, sometimes 275 million, sometimes
I mean,
300 million pounds.
Yeah.
Plenty of people disputed that figure.
Right.
And suspected that it may be rather fanciful.
Right.
Reynolds was certainly a very wealthy man.
From kitchen countertops.
At that time, though, having just sold a sizable stake in his kitchen worktop business for £32.2 million, which
Sure.
many believe to be the bulk of whatever his real net worth actually was.
And you're going to build a stadium. All right.
Reynolds had taken the kitchen
With 32 million selling kitchen countertops, you're going to build a stadium and get your team into the Premier League. I'm sure. I am sure that's going to happen.
worktop sector by storm by pricing his worktops at 50% of the price of his competition, without compromising, or so he claimed, on quality.
They were cheap shit.
It proved to be a big success, as the tycoon hoovered up a significant percentage of market share, and Reynolds said that he could do the same in football. His plan, as he outlined,
That is not how that
was
works.
to offer the cheapest tickets in the Football League, starting at £5 and going up to £10 for adults, depending
Yeah,
on the position within the
okay.
ground, and freezing those prices, regardless of inflation, demand, or which league Darlington were playing in, for at least the next 20 years.
I don't know about all
This,
that.
he hoped, would attract at least 15,000 fans to Darlington.
Okay, that's a cool idea, but like, it's very geographical, and this is still England. People are very, very loyal to their soccer teams. People are very, very loyal to the club from their city or their town. Good luck getting a person who's a fan of, like, say, Manchester United. I have no idea where Darlington are, but good luck getting somebody who's a fan of Manchester United to go to a Darlington match if it's on the same day as the Manchester United match. Good luck getting them to go to the Darlington game just because the ticket is $10 cheaper. Like, really, good luck with that. And good luck not adjusting for inflation when you're going up the leagues and you have to still compete. It's just already wildly overambitious and full of red flags.
10,000 either existing or neutral fans from within Darlington and its catchment area, by which
Catchment
I think
area?
meant the 300,000 plus odd people with Darlington postcodes, along
Interesting.
with an additional 5,000 football fans that he hoped to attract from Middlesbrough, Sunderland, and Newcastle United.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Reynolds stated
That's
upon his
not...
arrival in
It's not the like stiffest opposition. They're not like anywhere near London. They're not in Manchester or anything. But those are three pretty well supported teams with pretty big fan bases. I don't know how much of a dent you're going to make in their match day support, undercutting them by a little bit. And you still need to afford players, right? And so how are you bringing in, profit? You're obviously sacrificing on profit, and your stadium definitely isn't bigger than Sunderland's. I mean, I don't know if Sunderland had the Stadium of Light yet back then, but I figured they had a bigger stadium than Darlington back then to begin with. Newcastle had St. James Park.
1999, after outlining these plans and comparing football to his kitchen worktop business, that, quote, people keep on saying to me that football's different, but it's not different, end quote.
You're an idiot.
Spoiler alert, it is different. I'm sure most of you already know this, but just in case, people tend to be more attached to, say, Sunderland or Newcastle United Football Club than they are to a more expensive brand of kitchen worktop before you offer them
There
a
you go.
cheaper alternative.
There you go.
This, apparently, was news to George Reynolds.
Yes,
At this
because he's
point,
stupid.
It's probably worth just talking a little bit about George Reynolds himself.
Nice comb over.
as a
Here we go.
character, his past,
I
and
feel like
how he
I've already
amassed such a
guessed most
large
of it.
fortune, even if not potentially quite as large as he claimed, by the late 1990s. Reynolds had a tough upbringing, Born in Sunderland's Dock Street East in 1936, Reynolds' early childhood came during the midst of World War II, where Sunderland was subject to intense bombing campaigns by the Luftwaffe. The war ended when Reynolds was 9 years old, but at the age of 8, he had been put up for orphanage. Reynolds remained in an orphanage from the age of 8 through to 16, at an orphanage that doubled up as a workhouse. When, at the age of 16, illiterate and with no support network, Reynolds walked out into the world as an adult, he walked straight into a life of crime. It was steal or starve at that age, as Reynolds put it. His first major criminal venture, following a few years stealing cigarettes and smuggling watches, involved buying a Mr. Softy ice cream van and using it to smuggle gelignite, an explosive substance used for safecracking.
Okay,
Reynolds
listen.
wasn't bringing in the gelignite for
The first thing he did was buy an ice cream truck and use it to smuggle explosives. This guy's a comic book villain. You sold your soccer team to a fucking comic book villain, my guy.
someone else, he blew up the safes himself. This
Oh,
left
of course.
Reynolds in a bit of trouble in his
Really?
mid to late 20s when he was arrested and
What did I do wrong?
for safecracking, handling explosives, burglary, and theft.
Oh,
Reynolds described his first stint in prison as having been a blessing since, as an
Uh-huh.
inmate, he came into contact with a priest who convinced him to study, and Reynolds finally learnt to read and write. Reynolds described himself as
damn.
a changed
Okay,
man.
he did have a tough upbringing. Never mind. He ran into a priest in prison and was like, maybe you should learn how to read and write. Have you thought about that?
Upon his release, though he had made quite a lot of money whilst on the inside by selling contraband. Nonetheless, following his 4-year stint, Reynolds did establish some legitimate businesses, including fruit machines, fitting nightclubs and bars, and of course, his kitchen worktop business.
Nice, nice.
He did go back to prison briefly in 1970
What?
for burglary, and then again in 1976
Will you stop it? Kleptomaniac,
for
dog.
theft. But during the 1990s,
Same thing.
Reynolds did start to generate significant cash flow, making him a very wealthy person,
Because he's stealing things or because he's selling kitchen countertops? Because it seems like this man does not respect other people's property in any way, shape, or form whatsoever.
particularly following his £40 million plus exit in the late 1990s.
Okay.
As someone who had genuinely come from nothing, Reynolds certainly wasn't the type to hide his wealth. He wore large diamond rings and Rolex watches.
Flex
he had a
on
fleet
him.
of luxury cars, including a Mercedes, a Range
Flexing.
Rover, and a Rolls Royce.
Flex
He even
culture.
bought a house opposite the Spice Girls in London, along with a luxury villa in Marbella. His
Live
private
it.
residence was undoubtedly
Live the dream.
Reynolds' most lavish, though, as he bought
That is a
great
crazy
big
house.
stately home in County Durham, lived in it for a few years with his first wife, then they divorced, he remarried, and his new wife complained that the mansion stirred too many memories of his ex, so he knocked the entire thing down and
Are you
rebuilt
fucking
it
kidding me?
at a cost of £7 million.
Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, I'm just going to tear this entire Victorian mansion down and rebuild it because my wife doesn't like it. Crazy.
Reynolds and his second wife, Susan, supposedly travelled around the world in order to furnish their not-so-humble abode, once spending £1 million on interiors in a single afternoon at Harrods. Oh, I almost forgot to mention the £2 million helicopter, the private jet, and luxury super yacht, the ultimate waste of...
Not a waste of money at all. I don't even consider that like he could have owned this. That like this was just that this was his. That he just owns this entire boat. I was sure this was some kind of like ferry for, you know, like people to go from one place to another. Apparently my weak, small, middle class little brain can't handle that somebody could own this entire thing.
travel
Could be one person's just like floating house.
and ultimate swinging dick of the rich and famous.
Exactly.
If you're struggling to form an accurate representation of Mr. Reynolds in your head, then how about the story that in his
Bro, fucking British driving is so weird. Why is she driving on that side? Why is the wheel on that side of the car?
first week as
It's a nice
Darlington's
Mercedes, by the way.
owner and chairman, he paid off the mortgages of
Much
7
nice. That's a
employees
nicer
and bought
Mercedes than that boat, than that yacht is a boat.
them all brand new Mercedes.
That Mercedes is a
myriad
nicer car than that yacht was a boat. You know what I mean?
of other such tales about George Reynolds, and there are plenty of people who would testify that he was extremely generous, kind, and warm-hearted.
It's easy to be generous, kind, and warm-hearted when you have $250 million. I'm just saying.
There is a danger, however, and one that I'm reluctant
You
to
know why? Because there's way more people that have absolutely nothing. That's why.
fall into, of painting Reynolds
Duh.
as some kind of lovable rogue.
Yeah, well, it's easy when you're rich.
He cracked a few safes and nicked a few watches in his time, but he also paid off some mortgages. This would be a mistake, I think. Many in the Northeast would tell you that there was very little that they personally found lovable about George Reynolds. Aside from the crimes he was convicted of, Reynolds has been accused by many of using tactics of bullying and intimidation in order to get his own way, whether that be through threatening to
first off, he's a mega millionaire, and also he's not from a very educated background. That tends to be a trend, actually.
at your house.
I'm not saying in general. I'm not saying in general. There's a lot of people who come from nothing. I'm saying that like being an like bro, come on, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He's an uneducated person from bad means who had to make his own way. He's very used to bullying people and pushing people and bullying people to get what he wants. That's how he got where he is. It like just genuinely that's how he got where he is. He's gonna keep trying to do that, and I think that's what like we're not filling in. Like when we hear his plan, oh, I'm gonna take this football club and I'm gonna run it like my kitchen countertop business. He's thinking I'm gonna be able to do that because I'm me. I've just used my strength and my clout and my money, in this region of the north of England to just step on people my entire life, and it's gotten me where I want to be. Why would that not work in football? It's gotten me on yachts. It's gotten me, going around the world on shopping trips with my, I would assume supermodel wife and going back to my giant Victorian mansion, right? How is it not going to work in football too? I'm just going to be able to bully people in this world too. It's classic rich, douchebag from an uneducated background shit, right? And he doesn't have any kind of system of people around him to tell him he's wrong. That's the most important part. You can be uneducated and become a rich person and actually share and actually, hopefully do a lot to improve the world. I at least believe, or I at least hope, if you have good people around you. This guy doesn't have good people around him because he's just bullying and bossing around everybody.
During the night, or, actually turning up at your house in the middle of the night.
I'm just going to say it. He's like the president. If you don't agree with him, he just gets rid of you, right? Like, genuinely, that's how he runs his inner circle. I almost guarantee it. I almost guarantee it from the way he's behaved from this entire video from the start to now.
Normally, I would be worried about making these kinds of statements, especially about the dead, if they were just flimsy allegations.
Oh, he's dead, rip.
But not only are there several of them, including
who bought that yacht from him?
being some by journalists in the Northeast who fell on the wrong side of Reynolds by writing unflattering words about him, he actually
I wonder why.
admitted as much himself, boasting of how he'd go and visit people at their homes at 2:20 in the morning and that they wouldn't want anything to do with him after that.
What?
At one point, Reynolds actually...
Yo, he's a weirdo. He's like a creep, dog. What the hell? He's like actually like intimidating people by like standing in their yards. Like, yo, you have $200 million, you fiend.
Darlington fans that he would go around to their houses if they were to criticize him or his family.
So why would I change from being a Newcastle supporter to supporting your club? If you threaten me off rip, really? This guy's stupid. Yeah, we know he's stupid. There's a difference between, I don't know. Yeah, there's plenty of people that don't have a good education coming up who then become intelligent. This guy isn't trying to be intelligent. He's actually just a stupid bully. It's crazy.
And he told them to, quote, expect confrontation. He even
wow,
banned a
you're so
16-year-old
big and
fanzine
tough.
editor from attending games.
16-year-old fanzine from Darlington FC. You're beefing with a gas station employee, a 16-year-old gas station employee, high school student, and you are a 50-plus-year-old, 100-plus millionaire. Get a life.
As he felt his write-ups were too critical. All things told, and despite his legitimate business successes, Reynolds remained what my granddad would call a rogue. Mind you, my granddad did call every other person that he ever met a rogue, but I think his instincts in this case would be correct.
The term is douchebag.
Darlington fans never doubted that Reynolds was somewhat fanciful in his thinking and expectations. Mm-hmm. They knew that he was a man of vanity and criminality who was full of bluff and bluster. And
if I wasn't from Darlington, I'd be running away.
Reynolds, in a business capacity, took a particularly dim view of him. But in 1999, when he arrived at the club, most were still excited. and who can blame them? You have to remember, Darlington were headed for extinction when Reynolds arrived, so if he was a bit bonkers, that was fine by most,
Yeah.
so long as he did what was best for the club.
Yeah, he's trying to save
With
the
the
team
debts
at this
paid off,
point, at the
a promise
beginning.
of no further debt, the club having been brought into Reynolds' successful business empire, and him being one of, if not the, wealthiest owner in the third division, few would have
Right.
swapped Reynolds for Darlington's
Yeah,
previous
it's true.
predicament.
I might have been
Whilst
ambitious
talk
at the
of promotion
start.
to the Premier League, which Reynolds was obsessed with, was mostly laughed off, promotion from the third division was not.
Well, it's worrying because it shows that he has a lack of care for, step-by-step plan of how to build something at the club.
Darlington went from having 610 season ticket holders the season before Reynolds arrived to 2,800 ahead of the 1999-2000 campaign.
Yeah.
An incredible 7,000 replica shirts were sold during the off-season, and Darlington were installed by the bookies as 5-1 favourites to win promotion. For most of the season, Darlington occupied the automatic promotion places.
5-1 isn't that high, actually. 5-1 isn't that high to be promoted.
But on the final day of the season, they dropped down into fourth, signing the club
gotta go to the
the
playoff?
lottery of the playoffs.
Yeah, they're gonna lose.
Local rivals Hartlepool were comfortably dispatched in the semi-finals.
I was about to say, if they
before
lose to
another trip
Hartlepool.
to the old Wembley Stadium to face Peterborough United for a spot in the second division. The game was moved from the Saturday afternoon to the Friday night to make space for a friendly game between England and Brazil, making the game incredibly difficult for Darlington fans to attend. Issues that were exacerbated by the awful weather conditions. Constant heavy rain left the Wembley surface not much better than the one at Feetham's, and despite
That's what I'm
dominating
saying. I thought the old pitch was bad. They should be used to playing on a bad pitch, though. How is that an excuse? Their stadium has a bad pitch. They should be used to playing on bad pitches.
the game,
Bad pitches.
Darlington failed to capitalise.
Hey, I got bad
Losing
pitches at the
1-0 to
crib.
Peterborough, who
Fuck
scored
you
from
mean?
virtually their own attack. This ought to have been
Where they
a
at, though?
disappointing finish to a generally pretty positive debut campaign. Darlington had clearly made great strides.
That's not a
They
bad
were
season.
well placed to win promotion the following season. Instead of taking that measured view of the situation, Reynolds decided
Yeah, hell no. We got to get promoted. Spend all the money.
that he had been paying too much attention to what other people had to say, and that had cost the club promotion.
Yeah, I'm right.
Now, he was going to do things his own way.
Hell yeah.
His wife,
It's been long enough.
became
Let me ask my wife. It's been long enough.
increasingly involved in the club.
I need to put my foot down and ask my wife, who knows even less about soccer than I do. That's what we need to change. That'll get us to the Premier League. Imagine if anybody was running a club like that today. I mean, maybe down in the non-league today, there's someone delusional enough, and some American millionaire who's totally deluded. I don't know, but for the level of football this team is at, it's kind of crazy.
Not always with the most welcome of interventions.
It is only League Two, but dude, it's still the football. It's crazy. You shouldn't be asking your wife how to run your soccer team when you're so close. You got so close. You were a promotion level team, and so you ran out of steam at the end of the season. The team probably just needs depth. I'm sure they're going to sign some ridiculous, who knows what.
At the very first Darlington FC Supporters Club meeting, with the players present, Susan stood up to give a speech in which she accused the Darlington players of throwing games.
Okay.
Players walked out to the rapturous
Dude,
applause
she's an
of the
idiot.
vice-president.
Okay, she's an
The
idiot.
situation was still recoverable, but in reality, this would be the beginning of the end.
Just apologize for her?
The Darling-
That's a ridiculous thing to say. It's the exact opposite. I'm well, they ran out of stamina during the season, and this is somebody who isn't an athlete. It's oh, they're throwing games. It's have you ever heard of getting tired? Have you heard of getting tired at the end of the game? But this person is so stupid that she thinks that they're throwing game. I guarantee you that's actually what it was. Why are they getting tired? It's she doesn't watch soccer. So when they get tired, it's her soccer team, and she thinks of it as her soccer team. So when they get tired, she's such a selfish idiot that she's just oh, they're throwing the game. Why aren't they just running as hard as they can all the time? It's because they've been running for 60 minutes. That's why they're tired. And they get tired at the end of the game, and you need more depth to the squad to make sure the players don't get tired. But again, I'm sure that's not what they're going to do here.
Players of being greedy, and even went so far as to have their wages published in the local newspaper.
Oh my
The
goodness.
Northern Echo.
Oh
The
my
salaries
goodness.
revealed that Darlington's players were very well remunerated by third division standards, particularly in terms
Yeah.
of bonuses. But the
Okay.
players, unsurprisingly, weren't best pleased about that information being
Yeah, you just isolated every single one of them. And I'm sorry, this is back in the day. It can't be that big of a difference between the rest of the teams in the division. It really can't. Like today, it would probably be pretty laughable. The difference. No one at that level of football was getting paid that much back then for it to be that big of a deal, especially from somebody with $200 million apparently.
put into the public domain.
Uh-huh.
Darlington's four-star men from the previous season, including top scorer Marco Gabbiadini, who had scored a whopping 27 goals, all departed.
Why? Yeah. Why would you treat that guy poorly? He's like a really good player for this league. You have to keep him. That's like a start. That's a start of if you want to get promoted from the playoff, you have to keep the best player on the team. That's step one.
Squad were left feeling rather demoralised. Consequently, the following season was an absolute disaster. Darlington finished just 4 points above the bottom of the league, only narrowly avoiding relegation to the conference, and attendances slumped back down to almost pre-Reynolds levels,
Crazy.
despite being the cheapest tickets in all of football league.
Maybe the owner shouldn't have let his wife, who doesn't know anything about football, give a speech to the entire team where she addresses like the ability of the players at all. Maybe she just shouldn't have been speaking up at the podium for no reason, right? This isn't like an anti like women thing. If you're an owner and you want to include your wife in decision making, you're absolutely allowed to do that because like if she knows about soccer. Bro, if she doesn't know anything about soccer, what are you doing? It's the simplest thing in the world. She shouldn't be addressing the team. She literally doesn't know anything. She doesn't know anything about soccer. Why is she addressing professional soccer players? Completely ruined the entire team chemistry in one fell swoop.
Club's attendances had risen from 3,180
I'm not blaming his wife, by the way. I'm blaming him.
average to 5,000.
I'm blaming him.
523 under Reynolds in his debut campaign, but they flatlined at around 3,800 for the next 2 seasons, as Darlington recorded consecutive bottom half finishes.
Make the tickets even cheaper.
A big problem for both Reynolds and for Darlington, who were in the process of building one of the largest stadiums outside of the Premier League, which he had hoped would be at least 60% full. Before we come to Reynolds' ill-fated solution to fix that particular problem, I really have to address the elephant in the room.
Okay.
Anyone who builds a 25,000-seater football stadium in Darlington isn't all there in the head.
Yeah, you're an idiot.
Even if virtually every other aspect of Reynolds'
it's too big of a stadium.
delusional 5-year plan had come to fruition,
your goal is stay in the football league. Your goal is stay in the league that you're in if you're Darlington. Like, that is the highest realistic level you're going to get. 1 second, guys.
still wouldn't have been able to fill a 25,000-seater stadium or even have come remotely close, except perhaps for the odd game against the likes of Liverpool and Manchester United. To think that they could do so against Torquay United and Halifax Town...
It makes no sense. Yeah, that's also true. It's the opposition. Yeah, I didn't even think about that earlier. When you build the stadium, like if your plan is to fill that arena and take fans from Sunderland and Newcastle, excuse me, those teams are playing better teams than you're playing every single week. How cheap are you making those tickets?
Touch with reality. It is pure, unadulterated insanity of a kind you may more typically expect to find in someone who has suffered a particularly traumatic accident involving a barbecue skewer which has penetrated their skull and removed 95% of their brain function, leaving behind only the 5%.
This is a very deeply stupid man. Like, I'm trying to emphasize to people that, like, I'm not trying to speak ill on people that come from poor means, right? I make videos about boxing. Manny Pacquiao is one of my favorite athletes of all time, and I believe that Manny Pacquiao, despite having very little education as a child is an extremely intelligent man and a very deeply intelligent man. And you can be extremely intelligent and deeply intelligent coming from no background at all. In fact, humanity, the history of humanity itself has been molded by people like that. Okay? This guy who owned Darlington FC, this man is stupid. This guy is an idiot, right? The entire thing is built on the premise that he's going to just be able to bully his way into success in the same way that he did in his, random business ventures. And by the way, being a thief, literally stealing from people and getting sent to jail, right? He's not actually an intelligent person besides his education. He doesn't spend time trying to educate himself. He spends time, I guess, trying to make money and honestly giving too much of a shit what everyone else thinks about him and giving way too much of a shit about appearances. Clearly, because why else would you try to build a giant 20,000 seat Premier League stadium in Darlington? Because you can. That's why. Just because you can. He did it because he could. And that's not something that's like, and there's really not any other thinking beyond that. He just went with optimism from there. Oh, I can build a stadium. I have the money to buy a team and build a stadium. I'm just going to be wildly optimistic because I know nobody's going to tell me no. He's stupid. He's a dumb, manipulative person, man.
That comes up with increasing.
That's honestly how you become that rich. Do I really have to say it? That's how you become that rich. Hello?
Ideas, and not a single bit of the part that tells you to stop being so absolutely remarkably stupid. Anyhow, back to Mr. Reynolds and his big plan to get bums on seats ahead of the big move. His genius solution to unlock the 21,000 fans Darlington needed to find from somewhere was to sign a big-name marquee signing that would get a load of press attention and motivate people to go and see Darlington all on their own.
Yeah, I knew he was going to try to do that.
In fairness, it isn't the worst idea in the world, and it has worked for clubs in the past. The issue for Reynolds was the fact that
it happens all the time in like League 2 and League 1. You sign some former old Premier League star, probably at striker, and try to get a bunch of fans in seats. But again, even if you do that with that big stadium, you're in Darlington, how low are the ticket prices going to have to be to actually get people to fill the stadium when you're playing against Wrexham? And I'm not talking about modern Wrexham. I'm talking about Wrexham back then. I'm talking about Torquay United. Right, no, not even Preston North End. What's it? Southend United, like just irrelevant teams, bro. Forest Green Rovers, like no one's gonna come.
Darlington were a bottom half team in the fourth tier of the English game. Undeterred, in the summer of 2001, Reynolds went on an all-out charm offensive to try and sign England legend and one of the North East's most famous sons, Paul Gascoigne.
Okay, Paul Gascoigne.
Was contracted to Premier League side Everton at the time, but he had had a rotten time with injuries, and it looked as though his time with the Toffees would be coming to an end.
Okay, why are you signing an injury-prone player at all?
That was indeed the case, but Gascoigne and his agent reportedly felt Reynolds only wanted to sign Paul as a marketing stunt.
Well, yes, they're right.
Was, of course, the case, so they turned Darlington down, and Gaza signed for Burnley instead.
Okay,
if anything,
Reynolds next, okay, another one.
To an even bolder piece of transfer business.
All right.
Up former Newcastle United star Tino Asprilla.
That's probably a better idea. He played at Newcastle. He's got to have a fan base in the region.
Star had already lit up the top tier of English football in the Northeast, as well as starring in a fantastic Parma team in Serie A. But he too appeared to be out of favour following brief stints in Mexico and in Brazil. His time in Darlington would be even briefer.
Oh, they actually signed him? Okay.
7 weeks trying to sign Asprilla, offering him a contract reported to be worth...
Yo, he doesn't want you, bro. He doesn't want you. He doesn't want to sign in Darlington, man. He doesn't want to do it. Look at him. Even in the picture, he's like, do I have to be here?
Eye-watering £17,000 a week, which
that's a lot, man.
In League 2 now, let alone 20 years ago, along with an apartment and some other temptations.
Bro, it's an apartment in Darlington. He doesn't want it, all right? Like, he wants to play somewhere better. He was just in Brazil.
Reynolds must have presumed that he had his man, giving interviews alongside Sports.
Does he?
Him around Feetums before kickoff in a game.
Does he?
Asprilla was actually listed in the Darlington squad in the program notes the following week
Crazy. Wow.
after being unveiled to fans.
Sign the
Since
contract.
they had to be printed almost a week in advance, despite the fact that by that time, everyone knew the deal had fallen through.
Yeah, see, bro, it's shit like this, right? It's shit like this with owners sometimes at these lower levels of football, where like they just don't actually know the business. They don't really understand. They don't really understand the industry. I just like why are you not going out and actually trying to find young talent? Have you heard of that? Have you heard of actually trying to find good young players instead of pursuing an old like has been just to bring butts to seats? Wasn't the goal to be in the Premier League? This guy isn't helping you get to the Premier League. The rest of English soccer doesn't want him, and they're definitely not willing to pay him as much. And you're offering him this much, and he still doesn't want to play for you. Take the hint.
Reynolds said he was gutted. Meanwhile, Asprilla said Reynolds had offered him one contract over the phone and a totally different one, and even a different apartment, once he had met him in person.
Okay, bro. Like, yeah, this guy's a... Okay.
The whole thing contributed
Huckster.
to the image of Reynolds and of Darlington as being a desperate mess, flailing around, waving pound notes in front of players' faces, and still getting rejected.
Yes.
A year later,
that is exactly... Yes. How it feels to DM a woman.
The club went back in for
clown and jester.
But failed once again.
You are the jester.
Star
Everyone is laughing at you.
Choosing to head to China. When Asprilla was asked live on
Yes.
Sky Sports,
Yes. They probably offered him a much nicer apartment in China, and it was actually the apartment they said they were going to give him, and it's not in Darlington.
What he felt of Reynolds' plans to take Darlington to the Premier League, he just started laughing. Perhaps that ought to
Bro,
be
yikes.
By this point, unsurprisingly, and indeed a fair bit earlier in truth, fans were starting to lose faith in Reynolds.
All-time legendary scammer. Imagine scamming your way to $200 million in a soccer team.
Whilst some remained fearful to publicly criticise him at all due to the repeated threats. Almost all could scarcely believe the club was still pressing ahead with a 25,000-seater stadium. Nonetheless, they did just that. And on August 15th...
Yeah, so by the time the stadium got built, it was already like, it's kind of too late. We kind of know this isn't really going to work, but we're already too late in the process to not build the whole thing. Ugh.
2003, Darlington played their first game at the very humbly named Reynolds Arena. This is a man, it should be noted, who named his business George Reynolds UK and had his offices headquartered at the George Reynolds Industrial Park. So,
Humble.
The Reynolds Arena really ought not to have come as much of a shock to anyone.
No, not at all. It would be called the Trump Arena if this was America and this was Donald Trump. I mean, you know that Reynolds takes after Trump. I'm just like, come on, it's very obvious.
In truth, it's a wonder that he didn't try to change the team's name to George Reynolds' Quakers.
Yeah, George Reynolds FC.
That first game drew an enormous crowd by Darlington standards, as
12.
fans flocked from far and wide to see this bizarre venue on the outskirts of the town.
It doesn't look bad from that angle. First angle I've seen where it doesn't look bad.
Described as the best stadium in Europe.
Really?
The capacity had to be limited.
That's bold.
Game, as it would
Not the best stadium in this part of England.
Parking and public transport accessibility. But 11,600 fans still turned up to see Darlington lose 2-0 against Kidderminster Harriers. The fact that Darlington lost that game and put in...
You build a 20,000-seat stadium and you lose to Kidderminster Harriers in the first game. We're already screaming in agony. It's already red lights flashing everywhere. What on earth is going on? Sell. Sell the team. Not the players. Sell the whole fucking team right now. Are you kidding me? This is a lost business venture. This man went into the wrong business. This man does not know a thing about soccer. Yikes.
Insipid performance was really the final nail in the coffin of Reynolds' plans to have over 15,000 fans.
Yes,
the
final...
anything other than an Elton John concert.
Yeah, the final nail in the coffin happens the second the stadium opens and a soccer game is played there. Wow.
Darlington never recorded even half that amount for a home game ever again.
Crazy. They've never sold it out.
Following the move rose by less than 2,000
up
to just 5,023.
Yeah, so you've basically doomed the team forever. So for the entire history of this stadium, there's just been like a little group of people right there by that IN in Darlington and probably nowhere else. Like these three sections, the RL, the IN, and the GT section, probably have people in them and the rest of the stadium is in ruin.
highest
what
average
level are they in now?
attendance the club ever managed at the ground, bearing in mind the fact that Feetham's itself could accommodate 8,500 fans. In their first season in their new ground, without a marquee signing, and with attendances only having
Darlington is in the 6th tier of English football now. They're in the National League North.
increased very marginally, Darlington finished lower in the 3rd division than they had done the previous season, recording a lowly 18th place finish. It was almost as if the remarkably brain-dead Reynolds Arena wasn't the footballing mecca and silver bullet that the Quakers' resident clown had boldly predicted.
No, it makes them less attractive to players. It makes it much harder for them to recruit.
Build it and they will come was the mantra, but Reynolds built it and no one came. Well, some people did, but mostly just those that already went.
Yeah, that already would have gone.
Most of them would soon give up. In their last 3 seasons,
Yeah,
at
look
the
at that.
Reynolds
It's
Arena,
just
later
wow.
renamed
Wow.
the Darlington Arena, and now the Northern Echo Arena, Darlington twice averaged under 2,000 fans in the stadium, and only narrowly eclipsed that figure in the other one. Their lowest league attendances.
You're just sitting in the shadow of this disgusting old rich dude's ego. Like, why would you want to go to that stadium? It's like MK Dons, except they're not even at the same level. I mean, it's not like MK Dons. They didn't try to relocate the team, but in terms of the stadium, the corporate, like, irrelevant, generic stadium design, I'd hate it. I would much rather have just, dude, what most English teams at that level have, like a little park with a stand in it next to a train station in someone's backyard. That would be infinitely better than this.
Left the stadium roughly 95% empty. Reynolds once boasted that he almost called the stadium the White Elephant, since that's what everyone kept calling it before it was built, and he just loved proving people wrong. Perhaps, if he had done that, people might at least not have remembered which idiot decided to build a 25,000-seater football stadium in Darlington 20 years on. I'm not being very charitable.
No one's ever going to forget it. That's the most notable thing about it to everyone.
Definitely would still have remembered, since only one man would be mad enough to do something like that.
He, stepped on a rake over the course of 12 years. Took him 12 years to step on a rake. That's what this football stadium is. Everyone knew you were stupid the entire time. It was a stupid mistake the entire time, and everyone saw it, and you should be embarrassed.
Following their lowly 18th place finish in their first season in their mammoth but largely empty new ground, Darlington's on-field performances did actually start to improve, but off the pitch, the club was in chaos. Unbeknownst to most supporters, throughout his time owning the club, Reynolds seemingly wasn't just losing his marbles, but also his vast personal fortune and business empire.
Club's in trouble because they're broke. Look what they just did.
Even in
They opened a giant stadium nobody wants to go to. They're in financial dire straits now. It costs more money to operate a larger stadium. Genius.
1999-2000 season, Reynolds' first season owning the club, in which he boasted profits of over £1 million a month at his company accounts actually revealed that George Reynolds UK Limited actually lost £2.5 million that year. The following year, the business lost £9 million.
Somebody did a dive like this into Trump once, where they I remember before Trump was a presidential candidate pre-2016, people were investigating him and saying that he didn't actually have any money. And I remember being speculative that it wasn't true, but it just gets so shady and sketchy with those big real estate deals. To be honest with you, if you have money and you're in big real estate shit. And I think that was another mistake this guy made, is that this was maybe, I don't know enough about him to know if he was involved in any real estate, anything before this, but this is a venture of him from countertops, marble countertops, and being a jewel thief into something that actually involves, owning a large piece of land. It's very different. I mean, he did like to put his name on everything though, so he probably had some risk. He's a Trump wannabe. He's a British Trump wannabe. So it's not surprising to me that he's accounting like Trump is. Generous accounting. He's got some generous accounting going on.
Still transferred £1.9 million more over to the football club. That would be the last full financial year in which the business operated, going into liquidation in 2003, owing creditors £3.4 million. When the creditors came in to investigate what exactly had happened at GRUK, they determined that the £7 million Reynolds had put into Darlington, along with the £1.5 million that he transferred to another business that he also owned, was irresponsible at a time when the business was a loss-making enterprise and that it was to the detriment of GR UK's creditors. The conclusion was that the money that Reynolds had put into Darlington was improper, and consequently, he was banned from being a director or working in senior management at any company in the United Kingdom for the next 8 years.
Oh my
It
goodness.
turned out that Reynolds had actually run out of money whilst building the 20.
That is a rugby stand. Yeah, he just didn't actually have the money. So they said 7 million. He put 7 million into it. That's how much he actually put into building the stadium, was 7 million, and the 1.5 million into some other business that was also losing money. Crazy.
5,000-seater Reynolds Arena, and that consequently, to stave off personal
They
bankruptcy,
they said that they said that they had proof that he had 36 million. He said it was 200 million, which sounds like a lie. And they said that the actual amount of money that he put into it was 7. Crazy. He's just a con artist, bro. He's just a liar.
Who promised never to take on any debt at Darlington had taken a £4 million loan.
Taking debt immediately. I knew it when he said that. I knew it when he said he wasn't going to take any debt on. This dude was going to be taking out a loan immediately. You know, the second he says that, this man's taking out a big fat loan with compounding interest. There was a dude in the 90s who bought the NHL team, the New York Islanders, so you can believe that. He bought the Islanders and he didn't actually have any money. He was a con artist too. The second that he actually got ownership of the team and had to pay anything, the checks just started bouncing and they realized he didn't have any real money.
Club to finish the project. In January 2004, just 5 months after Darlington had moved into the Reynolds Arena, the man himself, George Reynolds, resigned as both chairman and director of the club, amidst pressure from supporters. In doing so, he left Darlington high and dry, needing to find £4 million to repay the loan Reynolds had taken out to build a stadium that no one in Darlington actually wanted. It was as if Reynolds had pardoned Darlington from a death sentence in 1999 and then executed the club himself in 2004. Darlington fans finally got the chance to witness Paul Gascoigne at the Reynolds Arena.
He finally...
During the same month that Reynolds left the club. Some famous
That's funny.
faces,
It's poetic.
including the likes of Gaza, Chris Waddle, and Kenny Dalglish, featured in a benefit game.
Oh, it's a charity match. Never mind. It's not even, I thought they were actually gonna sign him, but it's a charity match. Oh, it gets even sadder.
To try and raise funds to ensure
Bathroom World. You finally get to see Paul Gascoigne play over Darlington in a Bathroom World jersey.
survival of the struggling
You
club,
got to get that money in somehow, huh?
who had entered administration before Reynolds resigned and were now facing a winding-up order that threatened their very existence. The game saw by far the largest attendance ever witnessed at the stadium.
How much?
For a football match.
How much?
As over 14,000 fans
Hey,
showed up,
listen to
raising
that.
more than £100,000 and ensuring the club's survival for at least the next 2 months.
How about that? And
The
they still
club's
exist
total
today.
debts were believed to be around £20 million due to Reynolds
Jesus
paying
Christ. Yo, come on. 20 million? Did that whole spell? Yeah, because the stadium probably did cost around that much to build. So they're saying that he personally put 7 million into it. What did he think was going to happen? How did he think that was going to work? How did he think he was actually going to be able to build a soccer stadium for that, having that little real money? I don't know. It's fascinating. I mean, he must just be stupid. I mean, for the billionth time in this same video, we've come to the conclusion that this guy is just dumb. He's just actually kind of stupid. He has a lot of money, but he's not that smart.
£15 million in the
Shocking.
When the season came to an end, the Sterling Consortium, who had provided Darlington with that £4 million loan, took control of the club, with company director Stuart Davies becoming Darlington's new chairman. The Sterling Consortium had been founded in 2002 in an attempt to capitalise on the fall of ITV Digital, which left football with a major financial black hole. Sterling offered struggling clubs high-interest loans, which they inevitably struggled to repay. Darlington weren't the only club to fall victim to Sterling's loans. They also caused major issues at Barnsley, Chesterfield, and Cambridge United.
All right, so this guy's a con artist too, but why are you taking money out on a loan when you just said you weren't going to put the club into any debt? When the first thing you said was that you aren't going to put Darlington into any debt, and the first thing you do is take out a big fat loan with interest. Come on now.
Under Davies, Darlington's fortunes improved markedly on the pitch as they recorded successive 8th place finishes in League Two, only missing out on a playoff spot by virtue of goal difference in the 2004-05 season.
Yeah, and he's actually capable of, like, at least somewhat fixing the team financially as well, because there's probably actual capital and he's balancing the books instead of just spending money on a random frivolous project. But even then, I don't understand how this team could ever operate in the green, having to keep the lights on in that giant stadium and having as little attendance as they do.
With 3 teams all tied on 72 points. In 2006, following 2 seasons in which Davies had stabilised Darlington's performances and improved the relationship with fans without having fully addressed the club's financial difficulties, he sold the club to the property tycoon George Houghton. An ambitious multi-millionaire named George, Houghton arrived with a 5-year plan, setting off alarm bells so soon after Reynolds'
another fucking 5-year. We're gonna build a new stadium. We're gonna build another stadium on top of the old one, and it's gonna be even fancier, and we're gonna go into even less debt. Hey, anybody got an even higher interest loan that I can take out?
His more modest plan was only for the club to be, quote, banging on the door of the championship within the next 5 years.
Just stay in.
Houghton, Darlington started
just try to stay in League Two. Just try to stay in League Two.
A multi-million-pound academy setup being built.
Okay, that's actually smart. That's actually something you should be thinking about doing, though.
That never materialized.
Okay, right, of course. Just this useless stadium. Still have the useless stadium, not the youth academy, though.
A chief executive instead of him.
Is that Timothy Chalamet?
Things got even stranger when rumours began to circulate.
Why am I looking at Neverland Ranch? What's going on with Michael Jackson?
Houghton was trying to buy Leeds United and Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch in California, both of which he denied.
Curious.
His reign ended with Darlington going back into administration in 2009.
Right.
Before his
second time, because they still have this stadium burning money. That idiot, the idiot from before, literally, they're still burning money because of him. Because of George Reynolds. They're still burning money because of George Reynolds, bro, all these years later. Because they still have to operate this giant stadium, bro.
Who now owns League Two side Hartlepool Town, became the club's new owner and chairman. However, during Singh's first season at the helm, Darlington lost their Football League status, with relegation to the conference.
I mean, that's not shocking. I can't believe they were even still in the Football League.
Given something to celebrate with a dramatic last-minute victory against Mansfield Town at Wembley Stadium in the final of the...
Is that guy actually that tall, or is he standing on something? If they got like a 7'5" Lithuanian striker, that makes a lot of sense why they won that trophy.
FA Vase. But all the while, off-field issues dominated...
That's great. Look at all those fans showing up to Wembley for him. Even still, they still have some kind of a fan base. The whole town of Darlington came down for that.
The talk of the town. Darlington were no strangers to sub-2,000 crowds in a 25,000-seater stadium, which looked absolutely
wild, bro. I know.
In the non-league game. And in 2012, Singh put Darlington into administration for the 3rd time in less than a decade.
Yep.
This would be the last time. In May 2012...
It's the definition of a white elephant. It's just draining the club at all times, that giant stadium.
Darlington failed to agree a CVA and were expelled from the Football Association and wound up in a high court.
Yeah, y'all got to make a Phoenix club.
No longer existed.
Y'all got to make a Phoenix club.
Phoenix club was founded.
There we go.
Prohibited by the FA from using the same name, they called themselves Darlington 1883 instead and started out life in the 9th tier of the English game. At this point, Darlington left the Reynolds Arena, by this stage, the Darlington Arena.
The Darlington Arena.
Which was sold to the local rugby union club.
Now it's a rugby arena?
Promotions in 4 seasons secured a speedy recovery to the National League North, but
hey, nice.
Darlington are currently, somewhat ironically, unable to win promotion into the National League due to their ground not meeting league standards.
Oh, come on. They still don't have a good enough stadium. I mean, that's the kind of place that Darlington should have been playing in this entire time, though. Imagine if they would have just built like a more modest, smaller stadium, just tried to aim for like, you know, just bog standard instead of trying to go Premier League, like actually just like build a League Two ground with some nice amenities for the fans, for the people in Darlington. Like Darlington could actually be in League Two right now still. And still exist.
Are the biggest stadium in the non-league game to one that isn't up to league standards. The club is owned by the fans, and in 2017, they were given approval from the FA to rename themselves Darlington FC once again.
Oh, that's great. Nice.
When Darlington's house of cards came crashing down, so too did Reynolds and his fortune.
That guy is such a weirdo, man.
And was arrested on suspicion of money laundering in June 2004,
Well,
when £500,000 cash was found in the boot of his car.
crook's gonna crook,
Reynolds
bro.
subsequently launched a business which manufactured and
Crooks
sold
are gonna crook.
adult bedroom furniture, which appeared to be normal furniture to the unwitting eye, but could also be turned into a BDSM sex dungeon.
Yes, of course. So this guy is just he's just one of those. I mean, if we didn't know the entire time, he's just one of them, right?
That didn't last very long, since Reynolds pleaded guilty in court to charges of tax evasion and was
Back to
sentenced to 4
jail.
years back in prison. He lost his entire fortune and spent the rest of his days living
Bro,
in a
make
modest
vapes.
apartment in Chester.
He's marketing e-vapes. What do you mean he landed on his feet? He's marketing e-vape. This guy should have stayed making like, why did he not go straight to the BDSM furniture from the countertops? That's my real question. Why go into football at all? Why go into football at all and make me watch a whole video about this dude? Why not just go right to the BDSM beds? Like, that's clearly your passion. That's clearly your real passion in life, right? You stupid piece of shit. He's just dumb, bro. He's just kind of a dumb guy. Like, we know the cloth this guy is cut from. Like, he belongs selling e-cigarettes. Like,
Wesley Street, County Durham, where he ran a
sorry.
small e-cigarette business.
There you
In
go.
September 2019, less than 2 years before his death, Reynolds found himself back in court, where he was found guilty of harassment after visiting a female counsellor who refused to give him planning permission to build holiday homes at the counsellor's own home.
Okay.
Old habits
So
die.
he went to her home. He was trying to build a holiday home, so he goes to the counselor and sexually assaults her at her own home. Sigh.
Hard, I suppose. That is
It really is
today's
sad.
video.
You know, it's sad. It really is sad. But you know what? He just wasn't a good. It couldn't happen to a better guy. It couldn't happen. Just not a great guy, man. That dude was a piece of work. And fortunately, I mean, Darlington didn't really land on their feet, though. I don't think Darlington FC ever really recovered from what this man did to them. Let's find a photo right here. Darlington FC never really recovered to what he did to them. It was all really an ego trip. And you know, we touched on that during the video, that to take over a team in the non-league and basically say, we're going to go up to the Premier League and, you know, take over the Premier League from a small town and in a region with a bunch of competition and a club that rarely draws more than 2,000 people is just delusional and shows a very fundamental lack of intelligence that I think worried a lot of smarter people from the very beginning. A lot of more intelligent Darlington fans were probably very alarmed by that from the beginning. I mean, you're thankful that there's hope for your club, but at the end of the day, when it's done with that level of incompetence, it destroyed the club forever. And the original Darlington FC no longer exists because of this guy's actions and the fact that, you know, it took 3 different owners trying to make something happen, but it's so impossible. I don't know why anybody would take on that club when you've got a team with that small of a fan base and that big of a stadium, and you have to try to keep the lights on in that stadium, playing against, you know, Harrogate Town and Hartlepool. It's not going to happen. You're competing against Sunderland and Newcastle. So it was a foolish proposition from the start, and it turns out that this guy is like, you know, a lot of people who come from uneducated backgrounds achieve great wealth and surround themselves with people who aren't going to tell them no. And I think that's the kind of guy we're dealing with here. Definitely a British kind of Trumpy wannabe rich guy who, you know, I mean, it's sort of the problem. Can you be a wannabe when you have the money? Well, yes. It turns out, yes, you can be a wannabe when you actually do have the money if you do the wrong things with the money, and especially if you don't actually have the money. Because, I mean, I know he had a super yacht that was worth a lot of money, but the guy said he had 200 million, and we only ever saw, I think, 8.5. They said they accounted for 8.5 million. So the guy was a con artist, and he basically took out this football club forever and forced them to become, you know, a team 3 levels below where they were. They were in the 4th division, and now they are pretty much occupying the 6th division and in a stadium that doesn't even allow them to get promoted. So, yeah, it's honestly kind of a sad story, actually. At the end of the day, it's a very sad story. It's kind of hard to say that Darlington is still alive because you can't tell the story of the club, I think, without telling this story. And I think that's a result of this man's ego more than anything else. So that's peace out for this stream. I'm going to be back with some gaming in just a minute or two. But this was a good one. This is a fun video. I'm enjoying reacting to these videos, but I'm going to stay making my regular content. Don't you guys worry. I'm not going to turn into some react streamer. I'm just making these videos for me, and if anybody else wants to watch, that's fun. I'm just trying to bring some more joy to my nights here watching YouTube after work. There's some cold nights here in the Northeast lately. It's been really brutally cold out. Just going outside, you step outside for a little while and you're like, oh, it's not too bad. And then after 10 minutes, you're like, oh man, it is cold as fuck out, huh? It's freezing. So hopefully this stream helps all you guys out there who love soccer and all you guys out there who love sports. So just appreciate you guys. Hit that like and that subscribe, and I'll be back with the next one very soon.